I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, we don't even have a screen man up there.
I don't know. Okay, so for open forum this evening, we have Mr. Chiarado, if you would like to come up. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Please turn on the microphone.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Thank you also for sending me the policy that you guys were working on, and I enjoyed being in the subcommittee session with you all. Chair Farnsworth, I hope I say Vice Chair Palash, is that right?
She's not here with us this evening, but yes.
I'm here tonight, I think for the second or third time, to discuss what I view this committee's lack of commitment to treating Tiverton's girls fairly and lawfully, as well as ensuring their safety and comfort relative to district activities. This conversation in the subcommittee notwithstanding, I am urging you to please comply with Title IX, federal law. Your trans protocol remains in direct conflict with Title IX, as it allows sexual discrimination in locker rooms, changing areas, and in athletics. Now, in my view, there were a couple of points that I picked up on in the meeting earlier that discriminate possibly against girls further as you amend this 1262 policy, the field trip policy. The IOC, International Olympic Committee, the NCAA, 23 states, a federal judge in Tennessee, President Trump's executive order, and then 2 weeks ago, the U.S. Olympic Committee declared that no males identifying as females would be allowed to participate in girls' and women's sports. I know that's not the same thing as overnight field trips, but it is. Also, the Supreme Court will soon vote and will likely uphold the current laws in Idaho and West Virginia, which prohibit biological boys or men from competing on or against women's sports teams. However, here in Rhode Island, because of our Attorney General and Education Commissioner have basically held an invalid statute over the heads of your superintendent and others, and you guys, girls in Tiverton and all over the state remain in unfair, unsafe, uncomfortable, and unlawful positions due to this protocol that you have. Now your proposed rewrite of Policy 1262 states that, and I quote, TSD shall ensure that all students are able to participate in field trips in a manner consistent with their gender identity. To protect student privacy, the district will honor a student's request for a single occupancy accommodation when feasible, particularly for overnight field trips, which may be provided at the student's expense. So the question was asked and answered in the subcommittee meeting. So males identifying as females and biological females may room together on these overnight field trips. And I know there's no back and forth here. So that is what I took from a statement that was made in that meeting. I don't agree with that. I think it's wrong. Who would have to move if they were uncomfortable with the rooming assignments? Would it be the biological girl in this case, or would it be the male, the biological male identifying as a girl? I don't think the biological girl should have to move. Your solicitor, is that you, sir? Okay. The solicitor is inferring that FERPA governs this. FERPA does not apply here at all. You're not outing students. You're not giving away their information. You're protecting 99% of your population. And why at the student's expense? Why would, in my example, would you make a biological girl pay extra to feel safe and comfortable? Why would you do that? Why would anyone do that? That's wrong, in my view. It is not right to do that. You're in total violation of Title IX here if you amend the policy as outlined. The bottom line is this. The trans argument is falling apart. Common sense is prevailing. If I were you, and I told my own school committee this a couple weeks ago in Westerly, I would read the tea leaves. You see where things are going here. Do the right thing before you are forced to do the right thing or sued. And if this happens in this district, there will be plaintiffs. I guarantee you there will be plaintiffs. Until then, I will keep coming back. I will be here May 5th. I plan on it. If I'm not traveling for work, I'll be back. And I've spoken in front of every school committee in this state more than once. I'll keep coming back here and fighting for our kids, especially our girls, that those into whose care they've been entrusted muster the fortitude to have their backs. I will ensure that that happens. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. All right. We will move into the next item on our agenda, the consent agenda. We have school committee meeting minutes from March 24th, both regular and executive session. We have the March enrollment report, and we have a homeschool request for the 2025-2026 school year. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, or does anyone wish to take anything off?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'd like to pull off 3B and 3C, please,
Okay.
for discussion.
Do I have a motion then? Elaine, would you mind withdrawing your initial motion?
I will withdraw my initial motion.
May I have a motion to approve 3A of the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
What does she want to do, remove it?
No, we're going to approve 3A, which is the one she's not
Just,
voting.
okay.
So do you second that?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, so the minutes are approved. Item B, the enrollment report. Kim?
Super quick question on enrollment. What is an example of an alternative learning plan? I know GED is one.
Thank you, Ms. Paquette. An alternative learning plan would be available for any student ages 16 or greater. Would certainly include a GED plan, but it might also condense the student's school day into only those courses required for graduation. We don't currently have students participating in an ALP under that provision, but there hypothetically could be a student who is has only 3 courses needed to graduate, would only come in for those courses. That is something that's allowed under an ALP.
Now, in the middle school, what would that be, an alternative learning plan?
Alternative learning plans are not available for students in the middle school. Students have to be 16 or older.
Because we have one in 8th grade. That's why I had asked.
So
I
we do
wasn't sure what
have,
that was.
we do have a number of students in Tiverton who are currently homeschooled, who participate in a school-sponsored plan under the Pearson Learning Platform. We have 8 licenses. Some of those are currently in use. I believe that this particular number may be, for that reason, a student who is homeschooled but captured in the student's enrollment because they're participating in the Pearson at-home learning plan.
Okay, that was all the question I had about enrollment. Now, my next question is on the homeschooling numbers. I noticed August 26th has been left off this meeting date list. So there's 19 students that we approved August 26th, and it didn't get carried on to this memorandum?
We can look into that. That is most likely an oversight. I do see that the meeting dates go from August 5th to September 9th, and I hear you that there was a date in between those where homeschool students were approved. So we can look into that and update you at the May meeting related to that August meeting.
Okay, yeah, because I have that. So that will, after we approve tonight's homeschool, that will bring the total up to 116 with that 19 students that were left off.
I'm not
Kim,
sure
I
if that's
have
accurate.
to, yeah, I have to dispute that, because if you take 48 and 27 for the first two meetings, what I'm seeing here doesn't necessarily add up to 97. So the 97 may be accurate, it's just they missed a line.
Because I went through, I added them all.
Did you
I'm
add
just-
them?
Yeah, I did. And then
I
this
could
is
be
the,
off. 7,
I mean,
8.
if you want to look at it, this is August 26th, there was 19. But it's not on here.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying there. But the question I have is, and I don't have my calculator out, right? Somebody help me here. 30.
Because if you add everything up and you leave out the 19, it does come to 97.
It does, okay.
Yeah, but then you have to add in the 19 that was missed for a total of 116 after tonight. Okay, thank you.
Good catch. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the remaining parts of the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Elaine, second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Okay, thank you. All right. I just have a couple things this evening for chairperson's remarks. First of all, the Tiverton Middle School Boosters Cornhole Tournament that was held on April 3rd. And this is just one of many of what we're going to see as great events happening in our school district. I chose to put a highlight on this with the hopes that maybe we can start talking about these things every time we meet. And I would welcome anyone else to, pitch in and add these kudos. But first of all, the Tiverton Middle School Athletics Boosters had their cornhole tournament on April 3rd. It was well-attended, and I would like to, give my sincere gratitude for the volunteers who made this and so many of the events at all of our schools so special and wonderfully done for the benefit of our community's children. And to steal one of as much as I detest running anything by Facebook, but I'm going to take a quote from Facebook from one of those organizers who described that the evening as grassroots people power. And that's the difference maker here in the TIV, and we have the best. So we have some wonderful, wonderful constituents, wonderful parents, and I can't say it enough how much we appreciate them. The second item I have this evening is the RIASC annual meeting. It is scheduled for May 16th at the Crown Plaza in Warwick, where it usually does take place. Just as a reminder to all of you, and myself included, that the attendance at this event will satisfy your annual 6-hour training requirement under Rhode Island general law. That is to annually undertake a minimum of 6 hours of professional development. There are a number of good topics on the docket, including a session on AI policy development, as well as some really good budget discussion as well. So I recommend to anyone who's interested to go ahead and enroll. That is all I have for chairperson's remarks, and I will now send it over to Mr. Haskins for his update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have a few new hires to announce. Hannah Sampson, teacher assistant at Ranger School. Jessica Medeiros, social worker, long-term substitute at Tiverton Middle School. We are pleased to welcome these two new staff members to the Tiverton School Department and look forward to the contributions they will make in supporting our students and school community. We have 3 retirements to announce. Lee McCarthy, Tiverton High School English teacher, effective end of the school year, June 2026. Michael Chinisi, Tiverton Middle School custodian, effective May 8th, 2026, and Sherry Canula, Paquette School Teacher Assistant, effective end of the school year, June 2026. We extend our sincere gratitude to these individuals for their years of dedicated service and commitment to our students, our schools, our community, and we wish them all the best in their retirement. A couple of important events. First, special recognition has been extended by the Rhode Island Department of Education related to the attendance leaderboard to the Ranger School for a 7.65% improvement in weekly attendance, and Tiverton Middle School for a 5.74% improvement in weekly attendance. Great job to those schools for improving attendance week by week. This morning, Secretary of State Greg Amore delivered a history lesson in Jen Landau's high school classroom, covering Rhode Island's role in the Declaration of Independence, the global and U.S. impact of the document, and how our country has lived up to its founding principles. We sincerely thank Secretary Amore and Ms. Landau for providing our students with this valuable experience. Last Friday, Tiverton Middle School hosted a meaningful ceremony as a part of Rhode Island's commemoration of the 250th anniversary of the American Revolution, highlighted by the planting of a Liberty tree. Historically, Liberty trees served as gathering places for colonists to share ideas and organize around the cause of independence. Today, this tradition continues as a symbol of freedom, unity, and civic engagement for our students and community. The indoor ceremony portion featured remarks from Tiverton Historical Society Director Susan Anderson, Secretary of State Greg Amore, Senator Lou DePalma, Senator Walter Felag, and Representative Michelle McGaugh. The Tiverton Middle School Band performed the national anthem and God Bless America, and Tiverton High School senior Nora Winslow delivered a student reading. The program also included reflections on the significance of Liberty trees in revolutionary America, along with a proclamation and additional readings from town council members. The ceremony concluded with outdoor planting of the Liberty tree by Tiverton High School students Cameron Corey, Richie Helger, and Joel Ninetemp, creating a lasting symbol for future generations. We extend our thanks to the staff and students who made this event possible, most especially our social studies educators and Tiverton teachers, Christine Costa and Jen Landau, for their leadership and involvement with the town's semi-sequentennial commission. On April 2nd, Tiverton High School hosted its annual Students versus Staff basketball games, featuring both middle school and high school matchups. The event drew an excellent crowd and provided an exciting evening for all in attendance. We extend our thanks to all the student athletes, as well as the teachers, staff, and administrators who participated. The middle school faculty and staff secured a decisive victory, while the high school game was a true barn burner, with the faculty team edging out the students to earn their first win in 4 years. And finally, this week, Tiverton's elementary schools are celebrating Reading Week with a variety of engaging activities designed to promote a love of reading among students. Thank you to all who have served as guest readers. At the Ranger School, students are participating in a range of themed literacy activities throughout the week, including guest readers, collaborative storytelling, cross-grade reading opportunities, and special events that encourage reading in fun and creative ways. Similarly, at the Paquette Elementary School, students are also participating in daily themed dress-up days, along with guest readers visiting classrooms throughout the week, and great photos being sent to families throughout the week. Reading is one of the very most important things that we can do to promote scholarship and literacy in our schools. Reading is also tremendously enjoyable, and this week proves as much. And that's the extent of the update this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Haskins. All right, moving on to item 6, policy updates. We have 2 on the agenda this evening. We are going to table one of those. That is item B. We'll first of all take up item A, vote to update policy 1261, homeschooling policy, first read. So the policy subcommittee met this evening. We did discuss this policy as well as the other one that's on our docket. We felt that for the second item, that it wasn't quite yet ready for prime time. So I'm going to recommend that we table that this evening, take it up at our next meeting. For the homeschooling policy, it was included in, it was put on first read, it was included in your packets. We met this evening on it. I will am just trying to pull it up, so give me a second. What we've done primarily to the homeschooling policy, and I don't know, Kim, did you want to take this one, or let me take it?
That's fine, you can take it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Feel free to jump in.
Okay.
The version that you'll see on the website, as well as you received in your package, is the red line version, or to be specific, the green line version. We have, as we review policies, if we're seeing them on district letterhead, we're recommending that that be struck. So that is the case with this one here. We have added language in the letter of intent, the first major section. We're adding language to describe how parents who decide to homeschool their children during the school year, or after the beginning of the school year, as it may be, should notify the superintendent in writing immediately upon knowing that they wish to homeschool. So that is language that was not in the policy previously. We are also recommending a couple of grammatical type changes on the second page in the end-of-year report. As you know, at the completion of the school year, the parents must submit to the superintendent an end-of-year report. And the changes are in the final sentence. And we're striking the word "your" instruction time, will not be completed by June 30th. Parents should, instead of feel free, parents should contact the superintendent. And we're striking the word "designee." And then I think, okay, one more. And again, this is just a cleanup item. On the third page, the participation in regular Tiverton Public Schools educational programming. We make mention of how in grades 5 to 12, students are allowed to enroll in no more than one core and one non-core curriculum class, or two non-core curriculum classes. Currently, it's listed as two non-common core classes, but we're changing the language to more accurately reflect what it is. So we're striking the word "common" and adding the word "curriculum." And then lastly, at the end of this section, you see the final bullet, we have struck out addendum number 1, and that was a form that was attached to this to this policy initially, and it's in keeping with the desire to take forms out of the policy handbook, as they're not the policy. That's administrative tools that are used to administer the policies. So that's not the policy itself. So that's where we're striking it. And beyond that, I will tell you that we did discuss this in full at our policy meeting this evening, and it will be reflected in the minutes the next time we meet. We have also asked Mr. Haskins to go through here and normalize the language as it pertains to the school department. What we're seeing is a lot of conflict, right? We see Tiverton School District, Tiverton Public Schools, Tiverton Public School Committee, Tiverton, it's kind of it's inconsistent. So we've asked them to go through here. Even though we're looking at this in first read this evening, when we do receive this for second read, you will see updates so that it remains consistent that the legal name of the school department is the Tiverton School District, and that we, as this body, are the Tiverton School Committee. It's just, again, cleanup for consistency purposes. The only true change to this policy at this time is that additional language in the letter of intent section. Kim, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I think you covered it.
All right, thank you.
Good job.
So we will come back and review this for second read at our next meeting if no one has any questions. Okay. Thank you. All right. Again, I'm going to ask for a vote to table item 6B for first read of policy 1262.
I'll make that motion.
I have a second.
Second that motion.
All in favor? Okay, that is tabled. Thank you. All right, so general business, item 7A, vote to approve grant application for U.S. Tennis Association. Mr. Haskins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm seeking formal approval to submit a grant application to the United States Tennis Association 2026 Tennis Venue Services Program. This grant would provide critical funding and technical expertise for the repair, resurfacing, or potential reconstruction of the Tiverton High School tennis courts. The grant is a competitive grant that funds public tennis facilities to ensure that they are best-in-class destinations. And based on the current condition of our courts, we will be applying under one of the following categories. Category 2 is for resurfacing and fencing. This offers up to $8,000 per court for resurfacing and $12,000 per court for fencing, with a maximum award of $60,000, including crack repair, leveling the bird baths, and acrylic resurfacing. Or Category 3, which is reconstruction. This offers up to $35,000 per court with a maximum award of $150,000. It's a more complex process requiring a full technical review by the U.S. Tennis Association engineers to ensure that the project meets the American Sports Builders Association standards. This grant is designed as a cost-sharing partnership. The U.S. Tennis Association will fund up to 50% of the total project, with the district and town responsible for the remaining balance. It's important to note that these funds are distributed as a reimbursement after the project is completed and has passed a final accountability review. Beyond the funding, the U.S. Tennis Association provides technical services at no cost, including document review, design services, and facility assessments to help us define the project's value and ensure structural integrity. To remain eligible for this funding, the Tiverton School Department must commit to public access. This facility must remain open to the public and demonstrating programming that's available to the community at large. A 5-year commitment to promote tennis programming and maintain the facility, and blended lines. We must install 36 and 60-inch blended, 36-foot and 60-foot blended tennis lines, mandatory for all projects impacting the court surface. And we must agree not to paint permanent lines for other sports, such as pickleball and basketball, on the tennis courts during that 5-year commitment period. It is a competitive application. The U.S. Tennis Association reviews these on a rolling basis. Once we submit our inquiry and technical documents, the review process typically takes between 6 to 8 weeks. And so I recommend that the school committee authorize the submission of this application immediately so that we may take advantage of the U.S. Tennis Association's technical review and secure our place in the 2026 funding cycle.
Do I have a motion to approve the grant application for the U.S. Tennis Association?
I'll make that motion.
Have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Which category would we be applying for?
This will
The complete
depend.
reconstruction?
This will depend on the funding that would be provided through a capital request to the town council. So if we receive the funding for a full renovation of the tennis courts, then we would be applying for the maximum award of $150,000 for Category 3. And if we receive funding that only provides for resurfacing, then we'll be applying for the smaller award, which is $8,000 per court. So it would be a $24,000 grant just for the resurfacing, and then $12,000 for the fencing per court. That we have 4 tennis courts here.
Oh, okay, so it says the district and the town will be responsible for the remaining balance,
That's correct.
and we're prepared for that? That will go through the town,
So,
right? For capital request?
Mr. Haskins and Mr. Andrade went in front of the town council last night and received their support for this grant as well. So they are aware that if we receive this grant, it's only going to be partial funding for the tennis court work, and it would be at that time or at a casino meeting, if that's the case, that we would have that discussion with them and ask for the whatever funding, what other funding may be needed to complete the project, and that's when the scope of the project will be finalized.
Okay.
Okay? And I do want to, those great questions, but I also want to make it clear that receipt of this grant does not mandate anything for the town. If the town turns around and says they don't wish to support building new tennis courts or whatever the case may be, then the funding would not be received. Simple as that. It's not we are not encumbering the town in any way by applying for this grant.
Or ourselves?
No, right, no. Clearly, we can't. Yeah.
Thank you. Just, this is a reimbursement grant, so yes, we would have to secure the funding and then would be reimbursed that amount. I did neglect to provide sincere thanks to Jessica Cullinan, Tiverton High School tennis coach, who provided Mr. Andrade and I with this opportunity.
Any other questions? Okay, that said, all in favor? All right, unanimous, thank you. Item 7B, vote to approve ACT or ACT Foundation Grant Award in the amount of $3,000. Mr. Andrade.
Thank you. On behalf of Mr. Schreiner, who's at an away meet today, I am writing for your consideration to accept this $3,000 ACT Foundation to support the Tiverton High School track and field program. These funds will be used to purchase hurdles in the amount of $2,800, with the remaining $200 allocated towards jerseys and uniforms for our student athletes here at the high school.
Do I have a motion to accept the ACT Foundation Grant Award in the amount of $3,000?
I'll make that motion.
Have a second?
Second.
Is there any questions? I will just ask one question. I think I know the answer to this, but I will ask it. The funds that are received are put in a separate account and tracked accordingly?
Correct. We have an ACT Foundation account. That's one of our generous donors every year. So,
Okay.
Yep, correct.
And as such, there would be no overspending coming out of our operating budget?
Correct. No, he can only spend the $3,000 that's allocated
Okay.
in its own fund. Correct.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you to Mr. Schreiner.
Yes.
Did we approve? All in favor? Approved, thank you. Tell you, we're gonna get out of here by 8 o'clock. We'll see.
I thought you said the time.
7C, vote to approve Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management grant in the amount of $500. Mr. Andrade.
Same. On behalf of Jessica Cullen, Dave Landock, and Billy Phillips, who are the women's and men's tennis coaches, and obviously educators, and Jessica Cullen's a building substitute as well. I'm writing a request, I'm asking for your consideration and possible vote to accept the following grant in the amount of $500 from the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management, awarded through the Litter-Free Rhode Island program. The goal of this litter-free program is a spring incentive to highlight Earth Day. It doesn't have to take place on Earth Day, but it has to take place before June 15, 2026. And part of this is a cleanup effort, along with purchasing trees to be planted, or whatever the case may be. Mr. Landock and Ms. Cullen are still figuring out the final plans with the tennis team and a few additional students, so I don't have the exact detail, but this is to accept the grant for that type of detail as of today.
Do I have a motion to approve the Rhode Island DEM grant in the amount of $500?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Are there any questions or discussion points?
Just curious, where will they be cleaning up? Will it be around town or just?
So last year, they got awarded the same grant. They did it around the tennis court. I think this year, they're going to try to tackle around the parking lot of the high school. I just don't have their final details yet, but even though it's $500, they got to take pictures, you got to show receipts. It's pretty extensive to what you do, so you definitely got to come up with a good plan.
Okay,
Can't fake it.
Yeah.
just curious.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor? Approved, thank you. All right, item D, vote to approve extension of DaPonte's landscaping contract for mowing and trimming of athletic fields. Mr. Andrade.
Thank you. So this is to request a consideration and possible vote to extend the current mowing and trimming service contract with DaPonte's landscaping for the athletic fields and complexes at Tiverton High School and Tiverton Middle School. As you may recall, the district went out to bid last year specifically for this service. The process resulted in a rolling annual agreement. So our current agreement does end on June 30th, but I'm asking for your acceptance tonight to extend that through at least the end of the fall. We'll say November 30th, because the way it's proposed, it's not really a actual contractor agreement. It's just a service that pays $3,500 a month to do 2 cuts during the athletic season and 1 cut during the off-season. So I'd ask for your recommendation to approve this evening.
Thank you. I vote to, can I get a motion to approve the extension of DaPonte's landscaping contract for mowing and trimming of the fields at a cost of $3,500 a month for the remaining portions of the season?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Is there any questions?
Mr. Andrade, how many months are they going to be?
It's April through November, depending when the season ends.
So that's $28,000.
It's about $28,000.
$28,000?
Yep,
Okay.
correct. Yep.
Any word, are we going to have a football team next year, do we know?
As of right now, it's promising. They have quite a few athletes in the weight room this spring season. And 8th graders coming to be 9th graders seems to be promising as well. Many of the students, as well as the coaches, have gone down to the middle school, spoke to to quite a few of the kids in 8th grade, even 7th grade, but it seems like we will be, yes.
Okay.
But just so you know, that field is also used by other sports as well, but yeah.
That was my next question.
Okay.
I know we talked about this before. You said that Council 94 was in agreement of this. Did we ever get an MOU for that?
We did not. They, last time we spoke, off memory, as I said, there's an article in the current contract that speaks to extracurricular activities. So that's how we accepted this for extracurricular activities, and the custodians didn't have a problem with this because this actually helps them. So even though they're only doing the grass cutting and trimming, the custodians are still taking care of the fields, such as lining the fields, trash, whatever the case may be. Yep.
I just get concerned that it's taking union work and there's going to be a problem down the road somewhere. That's my
Yeah,
concern.
so we don't have, the way the language reads is we don't have any part-time workers right now. So if we did, it would be an issue. However, our 12 custodians are fully staffed, full-time, 40 hours, doing many other tasks, yeah. If we had the $60,000, $70,000 to hire another one, it'd be great, but we don't, so this is the adjustment to that, if you would.
That's all I had. Thank you.
I will also make note of the fact that the town council last evening approved extending their agreement with DaPonte for the same type of work.
Correct.
For the athletic fields throughout town.
Yep.
So it sounds like it's something that's working out well for everyone.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments? No. All right, all in favor?
I'm going to say no.
Opposed? You opposed?
Yes, I'm opposed.
Thank you. 3-1, please. All right, next, item E, discuss and vote to approve FY27 health insurance renewal and cost mitigation option. Mr. Andrade.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So, as I mentioned during the multiple budget cycles, workshops we've had, that we were still waiting for our health insurance renewals. We were just given wide range estimates, and since then, we finally got our health insurance renewal rates. So the health insurance renewal rate, without getting into the discussion this evening, would be 16.08%. So the reason for that is the health pool increase in the whole. So there's 37 out of 39 cities, towns, school districts, part of the Rhode Island Interlocal Trust. Out of that pool, there's 14.4. The pool increase is 14.4%. That's the highest it's ever been in over 15 years. So now we're in a pool with 37 out of 39 communities in Rhode Island, and we're kind of in a secondary pool, if you would, with the town of Tiverton. So it's the town of Tiverton, the Tiverton School Department, and both water districts in Tiverton. So the 4 of us make up a town pool. That town pool resulted in a loss ratio of 105.2%, with claims exceeding revenue, as I mentioned in your memo this evening. So with the statewide trends, insurers requesting increases, which exceeded 20%, specifically Blue Cross Blue Shield of Rhode Island, had a 29.1% request that was referenced in the article that I provided in your memo this evening, and also driven by hospital costs, cancer treatments, and high-cost pharmaceuticals, particularly GLP-1 weight loss medications. So as a result, Tiverton is seeing a 16.08% increase. However, everyone else is seeing double-digit increases. So Rhode Island Interlocal Trust went back to CVS Caremark executive team along with their board of trustees and asked what efforts we could do to reduce costs. The number one that came up was excluding the GLP-1 for weight loss only medications. So the cost option here to save a little over 3% would be to elect, this board to elect to exclude GLP-1 weight loss drug effective July 1st, 2026. So this would apply to weight loss medications only Wegovy and Zepbound. It does not impact prescribed weight loss treatment for other medical reasons such as diabetes, which should be exempted in Mounjaro. So with that, in your memo this evening, you can see the financial impact. It's to maintain coverage, it would be a 16.08% increase. Exclude coverage would be 13.12% increase. Estimated savings would be around $160,000 annual. That's altogether without talking co-shares. So the budget impact to the Tiverton School Department would be another $115,000 to maintain coverage, or a difference of it would decrease to $55,000 to exclude coverage. So if we were to maintain coverage as is with the 16%, we would have a budget impact of $115,000. If we elect to exclude coverage, it would drop down to $55,000. This $55,000 is the budget impact over what we need to make up based on our last submission as well. So we were projecting at 12%, so going to 13.12% increase if you were to exclude coverage. We still have a little difference in our total FY27 budget requests as well. There are approximately 15 active utilizers within the school department. Without getting into where they're located, I can say there's a 50-50 split between both NEA and Council 94, but that doesn't mean, for example, it could mean someone's spouse is on it. So it's not an actual school committee, school department employee, but it could be their spouse or, a child, if a child can be approved for this at age 25 or whatever the case. Don't really have much knowledge in GLP, but that's my understanding with our conversations with the trust. So with that, I put a little more information in your memo tonight talking about dental increase, which is not a concern from a budgetary perspective, just to give you an oversight over that. But other than that, I think I hit all the points. One more major point is another reason why healthcare is driving up is the federal medical credit program, which is approximately $900,000 in prior years used by the Interlocal Trust, has not been extended by the federal administration. Their fiscal cycle is October, so who knows when that will occur or if there will be a decision. But we need to let the trusts, we need to notify the trust by April 30th of our decision to retain coverage as is at a little over 16%, or if we're going to exclude GLP-1 at 13%. I can tell you, speaking to the union representatives, I don't really have a feel for Council 94. It sounded like they had a discussion. It was kind of a 50-50 split, but I can say NEA and NEA Rhode Island representatives are really for excluding coverage to save, to not have as big as a medical increase for their employees. So they're looking for the school committee to exclude the coverage this evening.
Do I have a motion to approve Mr. Andrade's recommendation that we exclude coverage for non-medically necessary, is that the correct way to describe it? GLP-1s, in other words, we would still cover for diabetes and other health
Correct.
conditions.
So you would be excluding weight loss medications.
Weight loss medications
Yes.
only.
Only, yep.
Can I have that motion?
Motion to approve?
Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, let's have a discussion. Anybody want to go?
No one's going to go?
I'm going to go, unless you
Because I
want
do
to go.
too. Nope, that's fine. I'll wait for you.
Okay. Thank you for laying it out as well as you did. This is going to be a difficult decision for us. And I don't, I don't think anybody would disagree with that. As Mr. Andrade mentioned, right, the primary drivers for these really out-of-line increases being proposed, including the expiration of federal tax credits, as well as the ever-increasing cost of medication, specifically weight loss drugs, and combined with tariffs on acquiring drugs from outside sources, as well as the ingredients to make drugs here. They also spoke in that article to general increases in services, and I'm not sure what that really, the impact of that or what that really means, but it was noted in the article as well. So I want to be fair about it. And before we go to any kind of decision on this, I do, thank you for providing us the backup. I took a look at some of these loss ratio reports that you included in our package. As a town, we are in it together, if you will, as part of the insurance plan with the trust. So we have town municipal employees, school employees, and on the town side, that would include some of the quasi municipal boards, such as the water departments, wastewater, et cetera. And Brandon, I think you may have referred to the 105% loss ratio for the combination. What concerns me is that the schools, who represent 60% of the employees on the plan, their loss ratio is at 95%. And the towns, who has 40% of the members, their loss ratio is 124%. Do we have any idea if this is an accurate representation of percentages that, the percent that have occurred, let's say, over the last 5 years? Is this consistent, or is this a number that jumps around? Do you know?
I do know. It's been consistent at, we'll say, 100 to 110% for the last 2 years at least.
For the combined group?
Yes, for just speaking combined group. And it was a little lower. That's why I was, when I first submitted the budget, you might remember, I was using a 10% figure, which I really wanted to use an 8%, but I went to 10, thankfully. And that was because we did have some promising loss ratios about a year ago. We were around 96%, so I was hoping for the best. And obviously, something turned in the last 6 months of last year. That could be a workman's comp claim, someone got hurt on the job, whatever the case may be, so.
But on the school side, we're still at 95.
Correct, but we pool together with the whole town. Yep. But the whole town itself was under 100% about a year ago. So I was hoping we were going to remain there to have a better figure for this year. Yep.
One would always hope.
Yeah, because I start looking at it in October and hoping for the best, because obviously we have to start building a budget around November, December.
Okay.
And you can kind of see that on this page, Diane, on the
Yeah.
second page.
Yep.
Is like, for instance, August of '25, it was at 97.7%. November, as I was referring to, I was a little off, but it's 81%, so I was hoping for the best. And then it just jumped up to 122.6% in January, and then came in around 105 at the end of the year. End of the fiscal year, I should say, not calendar year.
Right, right.
Yep. So, yeah, it was some promising news when we were starting the budget cycle, as you can see.
It does make me wonder if that's typical for winter each year.
Yeah, I'm not
If we went back and looked at the data.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure of.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess the reason I bring this up is that, you know, we've already gone through our budget in depth and submitted it to the town based upon your earlier assumptions, and now we're going to have to figure out how to deal with this. I can tell you that the town has not yet had a budget meeting. And so, and I haven't heard any discussions about their Blue Cross, and I have to assume they're going to be subject to the same increases.
They are, yeah, I've had a discussion with the town administrator. They are, obviously, as we know, they're subject to the same increases. I believe they're speaking about it their next agenda meeting, their next meeting. It will be on their agenda.
So I'm struggling with how fair it is for us to stop coverage just for school employees and not the town as a whole, even though I know we can't do anything about the town as a
Yeah.
whole.
So I asked that question. That's a good question. I did ask that question to the trust because I had the same question. So we can make a decision just for us, but they're hoping all four entities, if you would, make the same decision. I don't know how that relates in the scheme of things, but that was what the answer was from the trust.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, as we sit here and discuss this tonight, we're faced with making the decision tonight.
Correct. I can say, speaking to Union President, NEA Union President Kristen Destramps, who did tell me that Alex from NEA Rhode Island did say everyone in the state so far that has brought it to their meetings has excluded the coverage to save the money.
And that's certainly reflective of what you see in private industry as well.
Correct, yes, many private
We
industries.
all know people
Yep,
who have, had a lot of success
yeah,
with these weight loss drugs, and I'm one of them.
yeah, yeah,
And I can tell you that my coverage is in danger
yeah.
of being pulled. And I know people who have already dealt with this,
Yeah.
having their coverage pulled.
Yeah.
So it's not something I personally take lightly, because I know how
Correct.
beneficial these drugs
Yeah.
can be.
And seeing a savings of 3% to exclude it tells you right then and there that it's a very popular option.
I hate to say it's low-hanging fruit,
Yep, yep.
and it's unfortunate. It really is, because I know people, they can live healthier lives as a result. This is probably, in my opinion, one of the best preventative medicines that was ever invented. And, what we're seeing now is, my personal belief is that these drug companies are profiting a lot more than they really should be here. But that goes well above my pay grade. I can't fight them, not my thing. So that's what I have to say about it. Kim, did you have any questions?
Yes. How sure are you that 15 active utilizers, that's a correct number?
That's the number that was provided by the trust. So,
And they would have, that would be,
yeah, so what they do
Most
is they reach
definitely.
out to CVS CareMark and they give you that number.
okay.
Yep.
And you said NEA agrees with this?
Any,
Have they been asked, or how is that?
yep, so
Or
prior.
Council 94, anybody?
Yep, so prior to the meetings, the superintendent and I met with both unions, and we advised them of this difficult decision in front of you tonight. And I thought it was good transparency for two reasons. One, to say this would be voted this evening, and number two is to get their members aware of this high increase coming July 1st. So both unions were notified. The reason Council 94, I mentioned 50/50, is because they asked me for additional information. They were supposed to do a survey. I haven't got the survey back, so I don't know those results. But based on the email I received to provide numbers for that survey, it makes me believe they were 50/50. Speaking directly to NEA Union President Kristen Destramps, along with her vice chair, she made it known that their members would rather see obviously can't speak to all members, I just, based on her response, majority of her members would rather see the lower rate, the lower increase, because 13 or 16% is still a big jump for these employees.
So now this is going to go into effect when?
July 1st is the new.
Do we have to do an MOU because that's going to
No.
change?
So this is actually a management right.
NEA?
We were just, this is a management right. There's no coverage exclusion in a union. So we could make this decision without notifying the union. We just thought it was beneficial to notify them and make them aware of what's occurring next year. However, it's your management right to either exclude or include.
So is the school department considered, I was looking at your article here that you printed for us. Thank you, that was very interesting.
No problem. And the trust actually recommended that for you guys, so that's where I received it from.
The small group or the large group, where does,
We're a large group.
We're
Small
large,
group
okay.
is 50 plus. So,
Okay.
yeah, mostly everyone's a lot. It's mostly small companies that would be in that small group, 50 less employees.
that was that question for that, yeah. Because I did a little research, of course, just to see how much this stuff is expensive if someone's got to pay out of pocket for this.
Yeah, I think I put that in your memo. The trust told me they're seeing $150 to $350 a month, I believe I wrote in the memo. If I didn't, I apologize. Oh, yeah, right here. The trust notified me that the direct-to-consumer pricing for these drugs has declined a little, but it's still $150 to $350 a month to buy out of pocket, is what.
Because I found it said $1,349 a month for a 28-day supply.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Which would be $17,585 a year.
Yeah, it's definitely expensive. I don't have any knowledge of GLP.
That might be
but-
the oral administration, which just got approved.
Yep, correct.
Traditional is weekly injection.
Yep.
And I can attest to the $350-ish a month, because I personally know someone that is paying it.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's still a huge
Oh,
amount of
it's
money.
crazy money.
Even $100 a month is crazy, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Especially when you look at the support staff, if any of them are on it, that's like a big chunk of their income. I do appreciate everything you do to try and find money.
Thank you.
I know you're working really hard for that. I'm not crazy about this at all.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a doctor-prescribed medication, and doctors prescribe it for a reason. I'm concerned if we start doing this, what's going to happen next? What other drug is going to be eliminated?
Yeah, you bring up a good point, Kim. I'm just recommending this difference to you. Obviously, if you go with this, we have a budgetary issue either way, if we exclude or don't exclude. Obviously, based on majority of the conversations we had with the union, them telling me to exclude makes me comfortable to make a recommendation to you for that, because I ultimately work for you guys to save money, but I'm also here to support our staff as well. So when they give me the thumbs up to exclude, it makes my job a little easier. Secondary to that is we can't exclude coverage without CVS first approving it and the Board of Trustees for the trust approving it next. So those two decisions had to be made before I could bring this to you this evening. So the Board of Trustees for the trust is made up of mayors, town administrators, finance managers, and possibly like a CVS executive. They have a big board. So we're not the only ones in this mix, because the mayor that sits on that board of North Providence, I believe is the current president. I'm sure he's going to be excluding it if he just approved it during a board meeting. But I hope that just helps you make a decision this evening.
Now, it says, does not impact prescribed weight loss treatment for other medical
Correct.
reasons.
So if you're on it for diabetes reasons, this would not be excluded. You are still going to receive the same coverage you received today. And I will have to say, my personal opinion is doctors find workarounds, so.
I don't know, that's
I know, but,
weight loss, that's, I
I
don't know
know.
how they could work around that.
yeah, but I just think that's a little bit of a reason where, again, personal opinion, but that's why healthcare is rising crazily too, but.
And I agree with you, Diane. I looked at that chart, and there's, the school departments, yeah, their cut is so small compared to everybody else's, it just
Yeah.
doesn't, I don't know. And
And-
they're not going to,
No. And state of
they
Rhode
may,
Island.
they may not.
Yeah, and state
cut
of
it
Rhode
more.
Island improving Blue Cross Blue Shield at 29% increases is, it's astronomical.
Question. If we were to vote tonight to go along with this, and somehow the state pushes back on the insurers and say, we're not gonna let you do this, would we be able then to revote?
Yeah, usually, so I witnessed this during negotiations last year. We have to give them a decision by April 30th for July 1st. And the reason for that is because everything needs to be put into motion within 60 days. So if there was a reason wanted to include this in January, I would need to be notified by October, and the trust would try to make that happen. Because as you realize, insurance company wants your money, so if you're gonna exclude more coverage, they're gonna make more money, so they're gonna make it work. They just need time to make that happen, so it's usually around 60 days they can make changes.
Just curious about that.
Yep, yep.
Because I know the state will push back, although I'm not sure they have much of a leg to stand on.
Yeah,
Not
Yep.
from reading that article, at least.
correct. And I could be wrong, but I don't know if they're taking up the conversation or they already did, but they're in the same mix that they have to make a decision to include it or exclude it. Yeah. I just don't know, I'm forgetting what the news said, if it was coming up or they already made that decision.
Okay, anyone else have any comments, questions?
Just, the tax credit is sunsetting on this, which is contributing to the cost. I'm assuming there's no chance they'll extend it.
As of right now,
Yeah, we
it's
have to
not
plan for the
promising.
worst.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep. And I think that's what the trust is going for. They have April 30th to finalize the numbers.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm assuming it's cheaper to get the insurance through the trust?
So the trust, that's a good question. So the trust, two parts that I'm going to answer it two ways. One is correct, because the trust gives us multiple packages. They're not just our insurance carrier, they're our risk management team. I know the town 10 years ago, they tried to shop around, and losing that risk side was the biggest risk. So insurance, we could probably save some money. Speaking to the trust, I did ask the question, why only Blue Cross Blue Shield? And their answer was United Healthcare is not interested in the trust's benefits, and they're on a 3-year cycle with Blue Cross Blue Shield. So they do review every 3 years their insurance carrier. However, they're on year 2 of 3, so we have no option to change. If we were to get rid of the trust, you would have to find an insurance carrier, you would have to find a workman's comp benefit person, you would have to find property and liability claims, and probably 2 more packages I'm missing, but there's a lot to the trust they offer.
We probably have to hire people
Yep.
to do it.
Yep. They also, as you know, Sarah and I have used the trust because we don't have an HR department. They offer HR consulting at a free service, so they do come in handy from that end as well. Yep.
It's one of those, there's no great decision here.
Yes.
We have to pick.
It's a very tough decision.
It's a tough decision. I mean, and it's, Diane, like you said, it's low-hanging fruit, it's, thank God we're not talking about insulin or something of that nature. No great decision.
No, and I can hope, we all can hope that these crazy increases are gonna stop.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be a while.
Yeah, and this is, every year since I've been on here, we've had pretty hefty increases.
Yeah, it's been 12 and 13% my 2 years here so far, and now another
Yeah.
13, so that's 3.
And we're, we're paying $4 a gallon, and I mean, it's just, all of it is not good. So, okay. Anything else from anyone on the board? Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second, we have had significant amount of discussion. I will now call for a vote. All those in favor? And we have one opposed.
One opposed.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry.
You don't need to be sorry, that's your vote. Okay. Item F, vote to reconsider approval of January 31st, 2026 school committee meeting minutes. Ms. Paquette.
So do I have to open this up for,
What I would
How do I do
suggest,
this?
if
Yeah.
you are looking for us, because you did vote in the affirmative, you would be entitled to making a motion that would ask us to reconsider that approval.
okay,
That would be the first step.
okay. I'd like to make a motion to reconsider the approval.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion?
The only thing, I'm still, I don't understand this at all. We had talked about, well, Mr. Haskins had said that they needed math help at the high school. So is that a teacher? I feel like that should be reflected in the minutes. Whatever that math help is, to help the math teachers at the high school.
Thank you, Ms. Paquette. What I stated is included here in the minutes. What is not included, I said, what has been demonstrated as additional needed support for mathematics at the high school is not included in this budget request.
So what is the additional, it's not a math specialist.
We're not here to discuss the budget piece of it. We're only here that if we're going to change the minutes, that's all. We have to limit our conversation to that.
Okay.
So if you would like to ask the clerk to amend the minutes, you would be asking her, because we have in those minutes quite a bit that was said. We would be asking her, right, to add the verbatim, what has been demonstrated as needed additional teacher support for mathematics at the high school is not represented in this budget. That is really all we would be able to do.
Okay.
Is that what you'd like?
Yes.
Okay. So I didn't bring my Robert's Rules book, so we're going to do our best here. Okay, we have a motion to reconsider that approval. So, and we have a second. So all those in favor of reconsidering the approval, rescinding the approval? I'm in favor. Kim's in favor. Are you in favor? Elaine?
Yes.
Okay. So now the approval of those minutes is rescinded. So now we will ask the clerk to add that sentence verbatim, and I can send it over to you, because I did watch the video today and wrote it down. So Ms. Mendes will add to the minutes in section 3, where Superintendent Haskins was giving his introduction to the budget, the sentence, what has been, and this would be at the end. Actually, it would be after his discussion about the reading specialist at the high school. This budget does not represent a reading specialist at the high school. It was right after that that he said this, okay? So Carolyn will ask you to add this sentence immediately after that. It would be, what has been demonstrated as needed additional teacher support for mathematics at the high school is not in this budget. Do I have a motion to add that to the minutes?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor? Okay.
Thank you
And
for
then
your help,
finally,
Diane.
you're welcome. Finally, do I have a motion to approve the amended minutes of January 31st?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay, thank you. All right, item 7G, vote to approve contract with Center of Leadership and Educational Equity, CLEE, facilitation of the development of the 2026 to 2031 strategic plan. Mr. Haskins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As we begin updating the Tiverton School Department strategic plan, I have interviewed a few organizations available through the RIDE Master Price Agreement, including Cognia Incorporated, the District Management Group, and the Center for Leadership and Educational Equity. Based on this evaluation and the follow-up meetings with those organizations, I am recommending that the school committee approve approve the decision to engage with the Center for Leadership and Educational Equity. The cost for services is $13,800. The rationale for selecting CLEE is that they provide equity-focused and student-centered planning, aligning our actions with a shared vision of success for all students with an emphasis on historically underserved populations. CLEE provides deep stakeholder engagement by developing plans through authentic collaboration with students, families, educators, and community members. CLEE is data-driven and actionable. They used a structured analysis of student performance and instructional practices to identify root causes and drive improvement. CLEE uses shared leadership and capacity building, strengthening internal leadership and supports, and they support sustainable implementation through distributed leadership models. CLEE incorporates a plan, do, study, act cycle to ensure that the strategic plan remains a living, evolving document, and they have had demonstrated success in improving instructional practices, leadership capacity, and measurable student outcomes. In summary, CLEE offers comprehensive, equity-driven, and stakeholder-centered approach that will result in a strategic plan that is actionable, sustainable, and focused on improving student outcomes. By comparison, the District Management Group, or DM Group, gave a quote of $125,000, and Cognia Incorporated gave a quote of $32,300. Again, CLEE's quote for total cost for services is $13,800, a responsible investment into Tiverton strategic planning. I must disclose that I am a co-founder of CLEE. I previously served as its board treasurer from 2010 to 2018. I also performed compensated work for CLEE between 2010 and 2017. I have not received any compensation from CLEE since 2017, and I have not held any formal role with the organization since 2018. Additionally, I should disclose that CLEE facilitated the strategic planning process for the Paul Cuffey Charter School District in 2020 during my tenure as its superintendent. I am recommending the Center for Leadership and Educational Equity as the vendor to provide facilitation for the Tiverton Schools strategic plan at $13,800.
Can I have a motion to approve the contract with CLEE, to abbreviate, as a facilitator for the development of the 2026 to 2031 strategic plan?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
That motion.
Is that a second, Elaine? I'm sorry.
Second.
Thank you. I'll open it up for questions, discussion. And I will go ahead and kick things off since nobody jumped in. It's quite the difference, 13.8 to 125K. How will we, because we've already decided our budget for this next fiscal year. How are we going to pay for this?
We have, we can separate this contract into two parts. The planning meetings are 6 one-hour virtual meeting sessions for setting direction and guiding. The collaborative work is $3,240, which we could absorb into our current operational budget, and then carve out $10,560 from the FY27.
Okay.
Excuse me. Additionally, I am looking into grants to cover the cost. Those grants, we need the municipality to apply for those grants, so I'll work with the town administrator on that, but there may be some grants through the Rhode Island Foundation that would provide some funding for this project.
Okay. A little difficult to ascertain much of the specifics with this proposal. And I understand it's not the specifics, it's not the contract itself. I will say, and I will disclose to the members, I'm the one who asked Mr. Haskins to look into this, because our strategic plan that was put together several years ago has expired. It is a requirement by RIDE that we have a strategic plan. And I think, especially given all of the change that's come about in our district over the last couple of years, that now is a great time to take a step back and start thinking strategically and to, get something put together that can be a roadmap for this district. Will the services that CLEE provides us guide us through multiple areas of focus in that strategic plan, or does it focus strictly on education?
When I spoke with Michelle Lee, who's the director of this department of CLEE, I expressed to her that we would be looking for a strategic plan to address a number of priorities for the Tiverton School Department. Certainly academic achievement for all students, but also for students who are historically underrepresented, students who are chronically, or in categories that are chronically low performing. That we would be looking for goals and achievable measures for financial sustainability, for professional growth. So there are categories beyond academic achievement that the strategic plan would address. Most importantly, we are in a district experiencing declining enrollment, so financial sustainability would be a priority in the strategic plan.
Okay. And would there be school committee involvement?
Absolutely. The facilitator would meet with an internal team of administrators to review our data. So these would be organizational leaders who would serve on a steering committee, basically the superintendent's cabinet, who would be able to provide the data that CLEE would be using. There's a lot of legwork involved with gathering those data. Then CLEE would facilitate 3 2-hour virtual sessions, and we would expect members of the school committee to participate in those, along with members of the public, members of our teaching faculty and support staff who would participate in those focus sessions. We would need a wide variety of stakeholders, up to 60 participants. So there would be school committee involvement at that level. And then from there, there's a review of the product, getting feedback on the product from stakeholders, and then finally a presentation and approval from the school committee as we enact the strategic plan.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. What this proposal does not include is implementation. So what we would need to do in order for the strategic plan to be successful is we would need a strategic planning implementation team. And that team would need to be facilitated by our own administrators and include our own teachers, support staff. There could be room for school committee involvement at that point, but it really is getting into the weeds about the action plans related to the overall strategic plan.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else?
How do you plan on getting these 60 participants? You said you're going to have people from the community. How are they going to find out about this?
We will advertise it through our channels, through our normal channels, the superintendent's newsletter, the website, social media, to get the word out. It is 3 2-hour virtual sessions for up to 60 participants. 60 is a large number to get together, so I would predict probably just over half of that probably would have 30 to 40 participants. which I think is totally fine as long as it's a cross-section of stakeholder groups. I think that would be okay. They will be virtual sessions. That tends to help increase participation because, you know, people can, it's much more convenient to participate remotely.
I do want to thank you for your disclosure.
You're welcome.
There's nothing worse than finding a surprise at the end when uncovering something like that, so I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Normally, how has this been done in the past? Have you gone into the community, the SIT teams get involved?
I've been involved with the last two strategic plans. And Elaine, you were here as well. So please speak up if you know. But the most recent one, our former superintendent, Dr. Sanguioni, engaged with a facilitator who, I don't remember her name.
I don't remember her name too. I can see her face.
McEwen,
but
yeah,
I
yeah.
can't remember.
And as far as the school committee's involvement, and this, keep in mind, I think was during COVID.
It was a part of COVID.
Yeah, we all had to, you know, sit 20 feet apart from each other and all of that. And we spent one session working with this facilitator. The remaining sessions were dedicated, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe was to staff. I don't think there were any public sessions involved with that last strategic plan. I don't think so, at least, Kim. And so then the plan got put together. That is where the portrait of the graduate grew out of, which I think was definitely a plus. And the plan was put together and enacted in 2018, I guess it was. Prior to that, I participated as a parent and community member, and that was under the direction of Mr. Rearick. And that, too, involved a facilitator. It involved groups gathering here in the library. There was probably about 50 people, maybe. I can remember going through several hours of it, and we worked in groups on certain topics. I can remember being involved with Mr. Cabral on the topic of communications, and I thought that was actually a very beneficial exercise. We came up with some great ideas at that time, and you know, it's something that every organization should endeavor to always have some kind of a strategic plan, right, as their guide post. And RIDE does require it for the school district as well. I've also personally been involved on a corporate side with some of these strategic plans. So what I can tell you is they're all done different, but they all have a similar goal with coming up with that strategic plan and actions that can be accomplished during the time period of the plan.
I'm just looking at the cost, and
This cost is far less than what we paid last
right,
time.
well, yeah, and I'm looking at that too, but I'm just, we don't have money for stuff like this. It just seems like,
But it's not having the money for, you can't
Can you turn on
always
your
just-
microphone?
Sorry. Think about the money. We have to have a strategic plan, and it's gonna cost something. It's gonna cost, everything costs money. And I feel like we're required to have it. How long do you, when this is expired, how long do you go without a strategic plan in place? And what effect does it have on our district if you don't have it? I mean, the people that volunteer, the people like Diane, whoever, don't get paid. You pay your facilitator, you pay for other things. I don't know, that's my opinion.
and you have to
And
use
this one is less than the last one we had.
I think the last time we paid around $45,000.
And it is a lot of money, but that's just the way it is. Everything costs money.
And I don't think we have the resources within to accomplish this.
No.
This is a lot of time.
You need the expertise.
You need the expertise, you need the experience.
Yeah. Some things are just too important not to do. And I personally feel this is one of them, that it's something we have to do. And I think that the price that's been presented here is certainly reasonable for what we're going to get out of it. We are going to have to, the administration in particular is going to have to do a fair amount of legwork of their own and follow through on this plan. This is not buying a consultant to hold your hand.
No.
It's just really to facilitate the kickoff and help you put this plan together. And I think that's fine. That's my opinion.
So you need the facilitator.
I think so. I certainly am not qualified, and honestly, it should be someone in the educational field who has the facilitation experience as well, just like when we went for a search consultant for our superintendent, same thing, right? We needed the professional skill.
That's all I have.
Okay?
Yep, that's all I have.
Anyone
Thank you.
else? Okay, we have a motion and a second. We'll take a vote. All in favor? It is approved. Thank you very much. All right, monthly financial report. Mr. Andrade.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this would be your period 9 financial report for this year through March 31st, 2026. The total expenditures are almost 24.4 million, representing a 68% year-over-year cost through the $35.7 million FY26 adopted budget. This would leave 11.3 million remaining, obviously using round numbers, but 11.3 million remaining. Overall spending remains aligned with year-to-date benchmarks. So at this time, the district remains on track. However, cost pressures in select accounts will require active management to ensure we continue to stay close in balance with a slight surplus. We are now entering the final quarter of the fiscal year. Any questions or comments?
So you are confident that we will finish the year in the black at this time?
At this time, correct. Yep. I don't know how far in the black, but it'll be close.
Well,
The black is the goal,
as
even
you
if it's
know,
a dollar.
recently went through a year with a deficit,
Yes.
so we definitely will ask you this question each and every month and each
Yep.
and every week.
Yep.
Going
Even-
forward.
Even if it's a dollar, I'll be happy.
Okay.
Substitute costs, is that the building substitutes?
That would be all substitutes, building subs, daily subs, not just teachers. That could be nurses, clerical staff, et cetera.
So when a teacher takes their planning period and goes in subs, that would fall into this category as
No,
well?
that's classroom coverage. This would be the teacher is out of the school, whether they're on vacation, personal, sick, field trip, et cetera.
And severance, is that also including when people retire and they're getting paid out?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And then I just had one more quick question. On the second page. You've got out-of-state tuition and district tuition. What is district tuition?
What line exactly, Kim?
Well,
What
it's under
line
other
number?
purchase services, it's the last
Second
bullet
page.
point.
Yep,
Yeah.
so 55610 is the other school districts. That would be for CT students, so Tiverton residents attending Portsmouth, Rogers, et cetera. And the next one was private sources, did you say, or out of state? What one was the next?
It was the last line, it said out-of-state tuition, which I understand, but I was just wondering what district tuition was.
Oh, so the 55610?
It says
That's-
54%. It's in your summary.
Page 2.
Oh. Oh, correct, yeah, so that'd be CT. Sorry, I thought you were looking at the line item detail.
Oh, no, I'm
Oh,
just,
sorry, that's why I was on page 2 of the line item detail. So, yeah, that would be CTE. Students, Tiverton residents attending another school district.
okay. That's all I have, thank you.
Are there any other questions? All right, thank you. All right, vote to revise the 2025-26 school calendar. Mr. Haskins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have the calendar drafts here for you. I did notice a small typo for November 18th. It says 28th, so we'll make that change. This is the 2025-26 school year recommended revision. And then the second document is the 2026-2027 school year recommended revision. As a result of the historic blizzard in February of 2026, which led to school closures on February 23rd through 27th, the Council on Elementary and Secondary Education voted to reduce the required school year from 180 to 178 days due to the state of emergency declared for February 23rd and 24th. Accordingly, I am recommending revising the 2025-26 school calendar to move the last day of school from Friday, June 12th to Wednesday, June 17th. This adjustment would allow the schools to make up the 3 canceled days on June 15th, 16th, and 17th and meet the 178-day school year. Additionally, I know that there are questions about the Walter E. Ranger Elementary School being closed on January 30th and February 2nd due to a catastrophic boiler failure. On February 2nd, I requested a waiver for those 2 school days. As of today, I have not received a response from the Commissioner's office, despite following up on April 6, 2026. I will continue to reach out, but currently there is no update regarding the Ranger School makeup status.
Do I have a motion to first vote to revise the 2025-26 school year calendar to add 3 days in June to make up for the blizzard, which would put us at closure on June 17th?
I'll make that motion.
I have a second?
Second?
Is there any discussion?
I just have a question. In the Council 94 contract, it says they get paid for 181 days. How is that going to work?
So for both Council 94 and NEA, there are requirements for days beyond 178 days. So I'll need to meet with union leadership from each of those unions to discuss what our options are.
Okay. Any ideas at this point?
I'd like to hold until I have those conversations with the NEA leadership. I mean, there are 3 possibilities, right? We ask our employees to work all of the days that they're contracted for. We allow them those days off, or we split the difference.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions?
Just confirming that this calendar change does not impact graduating seniors.
That's correct. We are not changing the date of graduation.
Yep. So that's the only group of kids in town that are excited right now.
Not self-serving or anything, right?
Not at all. Not
Okay.
at all. I just wanted that confirmation on record.
Party goes on.
Yep.
That's actually a great question. I didn't even consider that.
I figured, I mean, it takes so much, you have to plan so far in advance for graduation. I can't imagine you're able to just move it, so,
The number of families who come from out of town,
yeah.
it would be a very big disruption to move that date.
Yep.
Okay. All right, any other questions? All right, all in favor? All right, so that is approved. And we will wait to hear back on the Ranger Elementary School plan. We'll put it back on the agenda at our next meeting? Okay.
Yes.
All right, so the discussion on the 2026-27 school calendar, Mr. Haskins.
I'm recommending a revision to the 2026-27 school calendar related to primary election day. The Rhode Island Senate approved a bill to delay this year's primary election by 1 day, moving it to Wednesday, September 9th, ensuring it falls after a business day rather than the day after Labor Day, which is Monday, September 7th. The House approved the change in February, and Governor Dan McKee has indicated that he will sign the bill into law. Therefore, I am recommending updating primary election day in the Tiverton School Department 2026-27 school calendar from September 8th to September 9th. That is the only change I'm recommending.
Do I have a motion to vote to revise the 2026-27 school calendar as per Mr. Haskins' recommendation.
A motion to approve?
Have a second?
A second?
Okay, is there any discussion, any questions?
We're sure this is going to be signed? We're sure.
Yes.
It's
For
not
some
gonna have
reason,
to
if it's
change,
not
it's-
signed, I'll bring a revision back to the school committee.
Okay.
I very
I'm-
much doubt it will.
You never know.
No, you're right, but from everything I know I've heard in the media, it's gonna go through. It's unfortunate that nobody had the foresight to see this ahead of time, but, okay. We gotta go with the flow. So kids will start on August 26th, which is the Wednesday before, and they will have a long weekend, their first weekend, and then another day off in the middle of the following week. Good for them, I guess. Not so good for mom and dad, but okay. Well, sorry, guys, we have to cope. All right, so we, any other questions? Do we have an approval? Do I have a vote to approve? All in favor? Okay, approved, thank you. All right, discuss Rhode Island General Law 162143 policy on the use of personal electronic devices. Mr. Haskins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you know, all schools are required to implement a policy that prohibits the use of personal electronic devices in schools by students or in school-sponsored activities. This includes cell phones, smartwatches, earbuds, any other internet-connected device. As requested by the school committee, a survey was recently distributed to all teachers and school employees, high school students, and parents and guardians of all students, and certainly members of the public community are welcome to complete that survey regarding the implementation of a personal electronic devices policy in response to this law. The survey asked stakeholders to provide input on the preferred policy approach. The two major questions here are, how do we define the school day, and how will we define storage? So the school day, as defined by the Rhode Island Department of Education, or excuse me, by Rhode Island General Law, is 1,080 minutes per year. Some school districts are interpreting that to mean that the school day would be from the beginning of the school day to the end of the school day. Other school districts are looking at that 1,080-minute requirement to be exclusive of passing times between periods and lunch, in that the school day is defined only as those instructional periods, not the passing periods, not lunch. Also related to storage, a number of school districts have decided to implement locked pouches. Yonder is one of the most popular companies there, where pouches are locked upon entry to the school through a magnetized device and then unlocked at the end of the school day or when the student is dismissed. Or some districts have allowed students to carry their cell phones powered off in their pockets. Other districts have allowed them to carry them powered off, not in their pockets. So those are the two major decision points. How do we define the school day, and how will we allow for storage? And so the initial review of this survey was done last week, so we've had a few more responses since then. I'll continue to keep the survey open and report back to you. But we have had 154 responses so far, and I've separated it by stakeholder. So first, for the teacher and staff responses, the strong majority of teachers and staff support full day restriction, including lunch and passing time, with only a small minority favoring instructional time only limits. There's a clear preference for the Yonder style pouches that are locked, as they would be the most effective and enforceable solution. The key benefits that teachers cited would include reduced temptation, in other words, out of sight, out of mind, consistent school-wide enforcement, and removing the burden on teachers to monitor phones. The primary concerns about cell phones include academic distraction, reduced focus, loss of instructional time, student resistance and conflict, diminished face-to-face interaction, along with increased bullying and social conflicts. Teachers currently view practices as being inconsistent and difficult to enforce. They have emphasized the need for clear school-wide expectations and strong administrative support. And while there were some logistical concerns noted, such as cost, storage, and potential workarounds, that is, for example, students using an old phone, these were generally outweighed by the perceived benefits. Most of our staff favors school-managed communication systems, and they don't view direct student phone access during the school day as necessary. The bottom line is that teachers and staff strongly support a structured bell-to-bell restriction model, most often using locked pouches to improve focused behavior and school climate while reducing enforcement challenges. For the parent and guardian responses, they're mixed. It's roughly 50-50. A slight majority favor instructional time only restrictions. A notable portion supports full-day restrictions to reduce distractions and improve social interaction. The reasons cited for allowing access include safety in emergencies, direct communication with their children related to schedule challenges and health needs, and real-world responsibilities such as jobs and transportation. Many also noted that device use is part of the current norm, and reasons for stronger restrictions included concerns about distraction, similar to teachers, reduced social interaction, and bullying or inappropriate use. Across all respondents, there's a clear desire for consistency in the expectations. Related to storage and management, those preferences vary. They range from student-managed approaches, where students can keep them on them, powered off, to more structured systems such as the locked pouches or even classroom storage. There were concerns noted about locked systems, including access during emergencies, the cost of those pouches, the hygiene of those pouches. While the supporters point to their effectiveness in other districts, there are a lot of districts that have found great success in using the pouches. Many parents prefer direct communication with their child, though some support the school-managed system. There is broad agreement that emergency access is critical for students. Anecdotally, it should be noted that parents may always call the school office if they have a need to speak to their child. Bottom line is that parents generally support structured limits, especially during instruction, but they are less supportive of full-day restrictions due to concerns about safety and communication. Finally, for student responses, high school students show a strong consensus in favoring restricting devices only during instructional time. They are clearly opposed to a full-day ban. The primary priority is maintaining their access to their phones for communication, particularly in emergencies and for coordinating rides in work and other responsibilities. Students consistently view lunch and passing time as personal, non-instructional time. The concerns about full-day restrictions include increased stress and frustration, potential negative impacts on school climate, loss of autonomy, loss of trust, limited ability to capture school experience and memories, I assume through photos. Students generally support classroom-based restrictions during instruction and emphasize personal responsibility. The reactions to the locked pouches are mixed. Some recognize that they're effective, many view them as overly restrictive and likely to create conflict. The bottom line is that students strongly support a balanced approach, phones off in a way during instruction, but accessible during non-instructional time, and they view full-day restrictions as unnecessary and counterproductive. So some cross-stakeholder takeaways. There is a clear divide among stakeholder groups. Teacher and staff favor strict bell-to-bell restrictions. Students favor instructional time only limits. Parents hold mixed views. There is, however, consistent and broad agreement that phones should be restricted during instructional time, and that any policy must be clear and enforceable. Conclusion and next steps, there's broad agreement on the need to limit phone use during instruction, significant disagreement regarding access during non-instructional time. Teachers and staff prioritize learning, consisting and enforceability, while students and many parents prioritize communication, safety, and independence. We will keep this survey open for a few more weeks, or several weeks if needed, to gather additional input. This summary presented this evening reflects preliminary findings that will inform the creation of a draft personal electronics device policy, which I will share with the school committee, or excuse me, the policy committee will share with the school committee for review and approval at an upcoming meeting. We need to pass a policy by August 1st, and so we are well on our way to getting feedback that will inform that policy And any successful policy will need to balance these competing priorities while ensuring clarity, consistency, and strong implementation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anyone have any comments to make on this topic? We're not taking any votes this evening, it's just a discussion. Thank you for bringing it to us. I mean, we've all been aware of the law, and the fact that we are going to have to take action before August. And thank you to Mr. Haskins and all of the staff for, you know, playing along with the survey and engaging with the stakeholders, particularly at the high school level, because I think that's where the biggest source of contention is going to be. So we'll have to take it up again at a future meeting. We did get a first look at the draft of the policy in the policy subcommittee meeting tonight, so we have some time to be digesting that as well and making recommendations for changes. But any changes, of course, would be reflective of the desire of the body as a whole. Okay.
Madam Chair, I neglected to mention that there will be a focus group session here at Tiverton High School related to the personal electronic devices. This will be Thursday, April 30th, 6 p.m. right here in the Tiverton High School Library. All high school students and parents and community members are welcome to attend. This will be led by the Tiverton High School School Improvement Team. Teachers Lee Cusimano, Linda Leonard, and Sam Santos will be facilitating that meeting. So everyone's highly encouraged to attend if you have feedback. This is a listening meeting. This is not an informational session, but an opportunity to get feedback from the students who will be impacted and parents and certainly members of the community. And they're certainly welcome to attend. Again, April 30th, 6 p.m., Tiverton High School Library. Thank you to the Tiverton High School School Improvement Team.
There's already language in the middle school and high school handbook restricting cell phone usage in classrooms, right?
Thank you. Yes, there is. We are focusing primarily on the high school. Currently, cell phones are restricted at the elementary school and middle school from bell to bell. We would, if there are changes at each of the locations, we'll incorporate that in the policy. If there's, for example, a different definition of the school day at the high school versus the middle school, then that would be included in the policy. I do not see any recommendations for any changes at the elementary and middle school levels at this time. It would be a bell-to-bell restriction.
It's interesting when you talk to people from other districts, the variation of restrictions. There are some districts that include the ban on their buses too. I mean, the student can't even have their device out on the bus. And so it varies greatly. And talking to somebody last week who implemented it bell to bell, and how much more lively discussion is during lunch because the students don't have their phones out. So there's benefits to all aspects of it, and I'm certainly not shocked that the kids don't want a bell to bell restriction. I expected that answer. So thank you for putting this together.
You're welcome.
All righty, thank you. All right, we're getting toward the end, guys. Update on capital requests, Mr. Andrade.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you know, Madam Chair, Superintendent, and myself went in front of the school committee Town Council last evening to discuss gaming revenue to offset the state mandated curriculum costs and technology investments that you all approved during the budget cycle. But as a reminder, these were curriculum implementations for science, high school science, that has an adoption date of 2026, like the cell phone policy, so August of 2026. And social studies that we have the same requirement of August 2026 for civics and world history at the middle school. These are both mandates with no state funding provided. So to take some pressure off the general fund, we asked the town council to consider approving the capital requests along with 30% of the Chromebook replacement request. The decision was tabled for a few reasons. One being the quotes that were for science and social studies include a variety of items such as materials, lab resources, and professional development, not only the software layer. There was some comment about the capital definition, if you would. And as I said last night, and referring to, say it again tonight, is in school districts and municipalities, there's a capital outlay account for computer software and equipment that represents the financial record of funds to use to acquire and develop curriculum implementations. However, professional development was a hot topic, and they considered, they asked us to consider taking that piece out. You know, I kind of disagree with it, but ultimately we took their feedback, and I think if the school committee chooses, we can certainly do so. The reason is they feel like professional development goes into a different UCO account, which is true. However, when you're talking capital, it's kind of an all-in cost. And the example I used last night, if you're going to do a building improvement or build a building, there's architectural costs inquired in that purchase, and that would be part of the capital. And that's kind of what professional development is during that software implementation. But if you guys remember from budget, the science piece and the social study piece, there was two pieces, civics and world history. We were going to utilize entitlement grants, Title II and IV for civics. So we can basically, we'll talk offline, the superintendent and I, but my idea right now, and again, we'll come to a final conclusion, but my initial solution is to utilize the entitlement grant and then bring civics back into the mix. Or another recommendation by town council president was to increase the Chromebook replacement request. So right now, the Chromebook replacement request is a little under 40,000. The district did budget 132,000 for Chromebooks, so we would increase that 40,000 to 49. The professional development piece is $9,100. I think, did I miss anything, superintendent or chairperson?
No, I would just say, based on the feedback from the town council, we will revise our request, we'll bring it to the school committee, and then present the revised request based on that feedback at an upcoming town council meeting.
Couple things. First, at the beginning of your presentation, you mentioned that I was included in going in front of the town council. I was not.
Oh, no, sorry.
I just wanted to be clear to my fellow board members that I was not there representing you.
Correct.
I was
You
there
were
as
in
an
the crowd.
audience member in support of the superintendent and the business manager. And I did not speak during this presentation. I agree with you, Brandon, on the accounting treatment for capital, but it's not something that lay people understand, and that's okay. I do think that I see it as a lesson learned, and that, we should be very careful when we're making requests to be able to clearly substantiate it as a capital item, because I think that is far better accepted. And I also wanted to remind you and everybody else, right, that this particular request, we have made requests just like this the last 3 years now. This is the third year we do this.
Correct.
And as our district has struggled financially, it has allowed us to purchase capital items outside of MOE, maintenance of effort. The last 2 years, our requests were, if I'm not mistaken, $312,000 each year. And this year, as we went through the budget negotiations here, we brought it down as best we could.
Yep.
I mean, I wanted to eliminate it, we're just not there yet. I would still always like it to be our goal to eliminate this reliance on this funding source for what I consider to be clearly operational needs. But that's, a discussion for later. So the request for 168 will be discussed again. I don't think we're going to meet again, though, before that time. So we've already given you the approval to ask for 168. So however you decide to put it together, I think it's still in keeping with our vote. So I really wouldn't worry about it coming before us, as far as you going back in front of them, okay? And that was that. Anything else from anyone?
Brendan, when you mention multiple years, when you say include material, lab resources, and professional development over multiple years, how many is multiple?
So the science software and, science software and social studies software. Social studies is all in for 6 years, so our purchase is good for the next 6 years. Science, the software itself is good for 6 years. Based on current enrollment, we have enough materials and lab resources to last at least 3 to 4 years, is what I'm told by Ms. Cusimano. So, the software itself is, like I said, 6 years, but the materials for the science will have to be replaced probably every 3 years, depending on enrollment.
Were you asking about recurring PD by chance?
No, I just,
Okay,
I see
And-
multiple years, and
Yeah.
I need a number.
yeah.
Yeah, and professional development is part of the implementation, so there's two pieces to that. One being implement the actual software to know how to use it, and professional development to teach the software.
That's all I have, thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? No. All right, last up, deficit reduction plan update, Mr. Andrade.
Yep. So, at the same meeting last evening, the town council finalized the approval of the article to do a one-time deficit reduction of the ride reimbursements currently in the account. So they decided, the way the article read, it had to be posted for 21 days, I believe it was. And then the council approved it last evening after those 21 days of public, open public session. And so as far as what's in the right account, I think we're still have a difference of about $100,000 from the 1.2 million. First, the 1.1 is in the account. So we still have to meet and discuss the difference once we're audit final. We had some questions that came over this week after silence for a few weeks from the audit team. So the town and the schools were reconciling some final items to, per the audit request, which I did today, and I'm just waiting to hear. So the audit's still open, hoping we're finalized any day. I keep using the last day of the month since February, but here we are on April 14th, and we're still active in that FY25 audit. So hopefully we come to a conclusion really soon on the audit. But that number of a little over 1.2 million hasn't changed since day one, so.
Thank you.
You forgot the heating.
Did we have that on our agenda?
Oh, yes, we
It
did.
was part of,
Yep, my
yeah.
apologies. It was part of capital, yes. I didn't go to the backup, I apologize. I can go back to that
all
one
good.
if you want.
Let's wrap this one up, and then we'll,
Yeah.
if that's okay with everybody, we'll just go back. It's a discussion item.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brendan. I just want to, it's been a long road with this deficit from fiscal '25. When we think back on it, we knew it was coming for several months before it actually was realized. And there was little we could do about it at that time. And since that time, it did indeed come to fruition, and, you know, we worked collaboratively with the town on coming up with a solution. I do want to thank our superintendent, Mr. Haskins, Mr. Andrade, as well. I also want to thank Town Administrator Pat Jones, Town Treasurer Denise Surratt, and Town Council President John Edwards for working with us in a very collaborative manner to get us to closure on this item. Obviously, the conversations are not done yet, but, and it, you know, this is why we continue to monitor our budget so very closely. We just don't have any leeway to make mistakes. You know, there were times when we were carrying multi-million-dollar fund balances, and at this time, we don't. And it's not a comfortable situation for us. But, you know, we work together, get it done, and luckily, we do have this flow of money coming from the reimbursements based on construction projects. So thank goodness we have that, and we'll get through it. So do you want to go back to the capital request? I apologize for cutting that off. I forgot you had that.
Yeah, I apologize too. I didn't see it in the packet. So that was approved. That request of 44,000 to cover the HVAC issues we had at Paquette and Ranger this past winter was approved through capital gaming. So 44,600 and
364.
364 was approved. So that would offset the bills that have already been paid for those emergencies.
I did notice there's an invoice here for 194.13, a train invoice, and it doesn't look like it's showing up in any of these.
Correct, that wouldn't be part of that request. That's just that's just in the backup material, because it's part of another. So Train sent two invoices together. One is part of that issue, another one's not. So I can only include invoices for part of that issue.
So,
Yep, correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just when we were copying the invoices, yeah,
okay. Thank you.
no problem.
So we voted quite some time ago on a capital request. And I think, did we not also vote to request bathroom work?
Yep, tennis courts and bathroom.
Yeah, the tennis courts is an ongoing discussion. I'm not afraid of that, anyone losing sight of that one. The bathrooms, though, we're holding off until the casino meeting to put in that
Correct.
request?
And we're hoping to get some better quotes. If you remember in the building committee meeting 2 months or so ago, the architect quote was quite high. So we were hoping to get some more local, if you would, contractor type quotes to give you a little better vision of what we want to do with the bathrooms, because majority of these bathrooms are staff related. So we don't need, last time we did the bathroom improvements, you added vape detectors and all this other items to those
But
student
that'll
bathrooms.
still be the case for some of these.
Yeah, there's only like
the middle school?
there's only like 2 or 3 student bathrooms. Majority of the bathrooms to do, 14, if the number's correct, is all staff bathrooms.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and clearly they're kicking around when they're gonna have that meeting. I don't know
Yep,
when that will be, but that is still out there
correct.
as something that this body voted on to move forward with.
Yep, correct.
So we'll watch for that.
Yep.
And I assume have a building committee somewhere in the near future. Okay. Anything else? Really? We've come to the end? Announcements of future meetings. So our schedule that we voted on several months back has us meeting on April 27th, I believe it is, or 28th. We have decided to cancel that meeting unless there is a urgent need of some kind for us to gather to vote on something. Other than that, it will be canceled. And that is, out of respect for the school system being shut down next week for vacation, and it gives everybody that opportunity to step away for a bit. As a result, I looked ahead to May on the calendar, where we typically would meet second, fourth Tuesday of the month. That fourth Tuesday is the day after Memorial Day. Who knows if people are going to be traveling, what have you. So I sent an email out to everybody on the body. I received confirmation from most that they're okay. So we are going to have our next meeting on May 5th. Is it May 5th?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And then we will follow up with a meeting 2 weeks after that on May 19th. And those will be the 2 meetings we'll have in May, as opposed to the original schedule of May 12th and 26th. Okay. And we will also have a policy meeting on May 19th as well. That's already been determined. All right, that brings us to the end of the agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? We're adjourned, thank you.